we should be live. Come on. There we go. Restream looks good. I didn't even pop out chat. One moment. Hello, Internet. Thank you for joining us. Now that Awesome Games Done Quick is done, or Summer Games Done Quick, hopefully we will get viewers.
Did anyone get in on the limited run special edition of Transistor?
No, that's not up my wheelhouse. It looked super cool, though.
Gotcha.
The Summer Games Done Quick collided with Shadowbringers, and normally I would have been like, I'll watch Summer Games over this, and no.
Gotta dial into that Shadowbringers.
Yep.
Alright, let me pop out chat here and then we will be good to go. Do I mix her up? I do. For all you mixcreants. Okay. Are you guys ready to kick this off?
I am super ready.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Musum's just
Well,
medium ready.
I was Googling Panzer Dragoon. I'm like, isn't that an RPG? But I guess Panzer Dragoon Saga is the RPG.
Right. The other one's the on-rail shooter, I think, technically.
I'm really confused about that whole series. So it's the on-rail shooter they're remaking. And
Yes.
I thought Panzer Dragoon Saga was all 4 of the games in one.
No, it's a one game, but it's like 3 discs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Still weird that they made an RPG out of that. That's odd.
And of course, the $700 RPG is like, oh, it's one of the best games ever.
Right. It's $2,000. Good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm ready.
All right, starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Musum.
Hello.
And Mina.
Hi.
We have a ton of E3 to talk about this week, so let's just dive right into Musum. What have you been playing this past month?
So I've only been able to play 1 to 2 hours of games a day, aside from my phone, and that is at most if I could even have time to play a game that day. I've been very busy.
Right.
But I still managed to get a little in. After last podcast, I played a tiny bit of Grim Dawn. That's that Diablo-like. That's what.
Right.
It's an unfortunate term I'm going to start using.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the most applicable. It's not like when I think of like a hack and slash RPG, I think of something different than that. That it very much is. We wanted to make a Diablo game, and we did.
Yeah, I mean that genre just hasn't. I think Torchlight expanded on it a little bit, and Diablo 3, went a completely different direction with it. But they're all that same isometric class-based hold the button down and juggle your skills gameplay. So
if we were in the late 90s, it would be called a Diablo killer.
Anyway, I play a little bit more Grim Dawn. I still really enjoy kind of the dual class thing of that, and the different quests that you have in it. And I found my first faction that I could choose to attack or befriend, which I forgot their names. I didn't write it down, and it was really uneventful. It was just, here are guys that are not associated with the town I was originally at, and I have the option to make them mad, but I didn't. Anyway, I barely played it. I'm still enjoying it, but I have a really hard time sticking with Diablo likes. I don't know why. I guess it's just because I spent so much time with Diablo 1 and 2 back in the day.
Yeah.
But, I never spent a lot of time with Torchlight 1 and 2, and I never beat either of them. So, and I beat like Diablo 1 and 2 multiple times.
Yeah.
I played a little bit more Vampyr the Masquerade Bloodlines. not like a ton more, but I managed to make it to the second area downtown, which it turns out you can just take a cab to downtown, and I might have been able to go the whole time. I'm not really sure.
You're taking the scenic route.
The thought never occurred to me in this very like, it's a Deus Ex like game,
right?
That has like a very 90s fashion aesthetic to it, like late 90s extreme like goth blade whatever.
Right.
And so it's just a taxi sitting out in the street. You can walk up to him, pay for it. That game's still a lot of fun. Like, I mean, it effectively is, hey, let's take Deus Ex and just make the main character a vampire, but in modern day. Like,
right.
I don't know. It's a fun execution from there. I know I just finished one of the main story beats, which was finding this Nosferatu. Like, in Vampire the Masquerade, they have all the different vampire clans, and they all have like physical traits associated with them. And the Nosferatu are the ones that look like the Nosferatu vampire in the movie. They're all ugly and have to live in the sewers type things.
Right.
To get to them, you basically had to talk this other like two personality Malkavian. I'm not really even sure what they were. They might have actually been half Malkavian, half whatever the business suit vampire is, Ventru or something like that. Malkavians are the crazy ones.
Oh, right.
We have to talk them into calling off the hunt on this guy or whatever it's called. And that was a really crazy side quest. Like, I went through it and one of the sisters died, and then I'm like, I wonder if I can save both, and I looked it up and I could. I just had to backtrack for like a half an hour or an hour or so. And I did that. It wasn't too big a deal because most of the gameplay in this game is talking, which I really kind of appreciate because the combat isn't super great, but
right.
I don't know. That's still a fun game. Hopefully I'll beat it either in July or August. And then I did a last podcast. I know I was pretty down on Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
I did a complete 180 on that game. So I still don't like the combat much.
Yeah.
Because it's stamina based combat, and I think that was a mistake.
Yeah.
But I ate someone after last game, and I feel like the game got a lot better.
Oh, okay.
Like, I started leveling up more and understanding, like, this is a main story quest, so it's no big deal if I sleep now. I just have to make sure no one's sick and no one's trapped in a combat zone that I need to rescue, type of thing.
Right.
And once I got that rhythm down, it was a lot more fun. I think the ending was kind of eh.
You finished the whole thing?
I did. I beat it.
Okay.
I looked up the endings too, and there's like 3 or 4 endings or something like that, and I think I got the second best one. I say best. None of them really sounded like the best to me.
Right.
Like the differences were like either you go travel, you stay, or the chick doesn't stay with you. Like, it sounded like those were the variances, and that
right.
didn't really seem like it mattered. But I enjoyed. Like, okay, so the 2 people I ate, without really giving away too many spoilers, or really any, in one of the dock areas, there's a guy who you discover is a serial killer. And I was like, you know what, this is a no-brainer.
Right.
I'll just eat this guy.
Yeah.
And I did, and as he died, he's like, oh, you sure had me fooled. But who are you going to blame all the bodies on now that I'm gone? And I'm like, one, dude, you were never caught.
Right.
Shut up.
Right.
2,
not that smart.
2, you're the first dude I ate, so stop it.
Right. Blame it on me. I'm a vampire. Whatever.
Yeah. That character's family, though, proceeded to get sick every single time I went to sleep, though. So it was
weird.
a constant, like, run back to their house, cure them, and leave type deal.
Huh.
I didn't like that they locked you out of eating certain characters by your mesmerize skill, like that's related to the story beats. There's a priest in the game who kind of just openly admits that he's been burning sinners alive.
Oh, great.
And I'm like, this guy is definitely the dude I'm gonna
Right?
eat.
I'm gonna chop that dude.
But you can't get him until Mesmerize 5, which is like the end of the game. And by that time,
No.
the amount of experience he was worth, like, I wasn't going to get much out of it. Like, the unfortunate truth is, like, I maxed out one of the powers I used regularly, which turned out didn't do a lot of damage maxed out. Like, I still had to do the stamina dance.
Oh, right.
And, I don't know, like, it just wouldn't have been a big, like, meant much if I ate them. But, like, the powers I thought, like, the ones I went with is one was called Coagulate, where you freeze all the blood in a character so they just stand there until you attack them or whatever, and you leech blood off of them just by being near them. So that was a nice, especially in a stamina-based fight system. Okay, I'm going to freeze this character, and then I'll worry about the other character while I'm doing this.
Right.
And then the other powers I did, the one I maxed out was the claw power, which that's all it is he claws the guy.
Yeah, it's just like a quick swipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was fine. It just, when you were fighting characters your same level, like it did a disappointing amount of damage.
Right.
The Shadow Grenade was my other go-to, which in late game I probably should have reset my skill points and assigned it to something else, because like with Coagulate and the claw thing, God, I feel like, have you seen that movie Liar Liar? Mm-hmm. Every time I say the claw, I'm thinking of Jim Carrey going, the claw, it's gonna... Anyway. I don't know. It's very much an imperfect game that I wish they made the combat cooler by taking out stamina. And I wish the story was a little bit more, but I really enjoyed kind of the characters in it and like the different decisions you had to make. Like there's one point in the story where you have to join this faction of vampires, and they're like, no, you go turn this guy, and you got to make a decision there. I hope I feel like I was vague enough about that. That's not too big a spoiler.
Well, I like that the decisions are all big ones. It's like, do you want to eat this guy or let him go free even though he's terrible? Like, are you gonna stick to your principles, or are they gonna waver a little bit because you found someone that's really evil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, mine very much wavered.
Yeah. I agree that I wish the combat was better, because I feel like this is a game I really want to recommend to people, especially if they love RPGs. But it is hard to recommend to most people because the combat, the story stuff, and the world building, and like that flow chart of people, like all that stuff is super cool. Just the combat is so bad that unless I know it's someone that can stick with sort of a B tier game, then I think for most people it's going to be a skip.
Yeah. Well, and especially like you have to throw in the caveats there. Like I had a friend who played like the intro and then stopped playing, and I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, I just ate a bunch of people. I'm like, if you do quests for those people first, they'll be worth more XP, right? And he's like, oh, no, I didn't know that.
Right.
And that's not something obvious at the start of the game, but
right.
You can fatten these vegetables up.
Yep.
Whatever you call them. I don't know. I like the game a lot, but it was it's so hard to, like, it's so different, I think, from other games that it's hard to get a grip of what the system is going to penalize you for and what it won't penalize you for.
Right. And I almost get the sense that it sort of wants you to play through it a couple of times, but I feel like it's a little bit too long for that. Like, if you want me to play through it a couple of times, you got to hit that, like, 15 to 20 hour mark where I just have enough, and I'm more than happy to say, all right, cool. I sort of learned my mistakes the first time. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to fatten all these people up and eat them and see how high my level can get. Another run I'll do, like, not eating anybody and... that whole thing. But with it being just a little bit longer than that, I feel like it's... By the time you get to the end, you're sort of like, okay, cool, like, I'd love to see more, but I'm kind of out of time.
I'd really appreciate, like, some Save Game Plus options on it.
Yeah.
I get that takes away, like, a lot of the pressure of the morality of eating some people and leveling up, but at the same time, like, just let me have all the powers for a minute. And, like, you can't even equip them all at once, so it's not that huge a deal. But,
right. And you already finished it, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know if I'll play through it again. Probably not, considering like how little time I seem to have nowadays.
Right.
But it's I like it. I'm with you. I wouldn't blindly recommend it to someone. Like there'd be a lot of caveats there that we all just talked about.
To me, it's like a modern Alpha Protocol, where it's like if you can stick with the game and you can sort of dig through a little bit of the sand to find the diamond in there, I think you'll like Alpha Protocol and Vampyr. But if you want like a super polished AAA game and you don't deal with bugs and you don't want to deal with things being a little bit unclear, then those are games you're going to want to pass.
I had a blast with Alpha Protocol, and I never understood why anyone wouldn't have a fun blast with it.
Yeah.
To me, it was like maybe I just picked the right things, and I just fell into what like just worked.
Yeah.
But
Alpha Protocol has some frustrating stuff in the beginning that I think a lot of people aren't used to shooting guns in RPGs, so it's like, well, why did I miss with my gun? It's like, well, you have to build up your stats so that your accuracy is higher, and it's like people are used to that with swords and arrows and stuff like that, but when you introduce guns, like, well, I put my reticle on the guy's head and I missed. Like, that shouldn't happen. It's like, I get it, but it's an RPG.
And you have to pick like, it's been a while since I played it, but I mean, don't you have to pick like kind of specific weapons to have a easier time through the combat in Alpha Protocol?
Yeah,
I don't know. I
specialty.
I did fine with whatever I did. I just threw things at the wall and it just ended up working. But I guess I might not have recognized things like the RPG elements of it bothering me, because I would have been like, I don't know, that's how the game is, and it wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the RPG story elements of Alpha Protocol were so good.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's a good comparison. Like, to be clear, like Vampyr for you, Mina, and the audience, like it does not have the extreme story bending that Alpha Protocol did.
No.
But it does have a really cool. Gosh, I don't even know how to describe the system. I mean, it's like they have a. No,
it's like a relationship
system
system almost. Like each district has a number of people and they're all related to each other. And as you do stuff for one person, you could
fight anybody.
Yeah,
I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
Well,
maybe unless it was those jerks.
Right.
Oh,
I could maybe only if they were jerks.
So I have a funny story about the first dude I bit, the serial killer guy. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I walk up to him and I click the mesmerize thing and he waves his hand and like you go into like this red light thing and you have to go somewhere to hide. And I'm like, oh crap, I don't know where to go. Right. And I'm walking around like this brainwashed guy in front of me with my hand behind his back.
Right. Taking a stroll.
Walking around in front of everyone being like, can I do it here? No, I can't do it. And after like a couple minutes, I realized, oh, there's this weird little red dot particle trail I'm supposed to be following.
Oh, right.
And I finally, but it had to have been 5 minutes. Like the whole town saw
Everything's normal. Nothing's
like,
wrong.
oh, that's weird. Why is the doctor from Pembroke walking around with his hand up behind that psycho dude?
That's good.
Anywho. And then last but not least, I don't have a lot of news about it, but I gather that you guys do. I played a bit of Epic 7.
Man.
Yeah, I finally started this. You guys wore me down. I finally started
man.
Epic, and it's so good.
Man.
I don't have too much to add above what you guys have been talking about for the last couple of months, other than, yeah, it's as friendly to start and as friendly to play as you guys have been talking about. I think the only thing that's a little confusing for a newcomer is there are a lot of menus and systems and dungeons and stuff, but they've done a really good job for, I'd say 90% of them. Every couple of levels in, every couple of chapters in the story, they
kind of trickle it in like a little bit.
They'll be like, hey, come back out to the lobby. I unlocked something new for you. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, cool. There's another thing. Right. Do a little bit more and be like, hey, now you can play the arena. Now you can do some PvP. Oh, okay, cool. So I think they've, except for some things I think they've just added over the last couple weeks, I think they do a really good job of really trickling that stuff out.
Did you get the because when they did that last big update with the God Killer update, like I loaded the game and it immediately started a story cutscene. Did it do that to you too?
I don't think so. He has to beat the main story before it unlocks the second story.
Yeah, because I haven't beaten. I'm up to like. So for anyone listening, there's 10 chapters that have an X number of levels in it, basically. And there are alternate paths, which I think are super cool. I'm at 8-1, so I'm at the beginning of the 8th chapter, and I sort of rushed because of the number of the units that I pulled originally that were really strong. I sort of mowed my way up until that point and then hit a brick wall, something fierce.
Yeah,
so
there are a couple of walls. I think the hardest part is honestly there's a couple fights where you have to fight a particular water unit. That is one of the biggest walls people deal with. If you have like a really good earth friend, they can kind of push past those walls for you. I have like I used to set up a unit that could just basically like get you all the way to the final chapter of the first story.
Right.
But yeah, the particular there are walls. There are a couple of walls in the game, I would say. Like if you don't have a decent enough comp, you won't get past a certain part in one of the earlier chapters that you must have just drove right by. But like there's a wall in chapter 8. I know there's 1 or 2 walls in chapter 9 for sure. Right. And then there's like several depending on your team in chapter 10. Like there's like
chapter 10 is, man, that's a hard one.
That's like I think almost like a lot of that is like kind of once you get past those, you finally unlock the moonlight summons, and the moonlight summons are where people's most like this is the real where the gotcha element can sometimes make people upset because you kind of wait, like you only get like maybe 1 or 2 MLs a month, moonlight summons. And that's if you're like you know, you do all the grinding for everything, you spend your tickets, and they just throughout the month you get like the free moonlight stuff, and events sometimes give you the moonlight stuff. But so you only get 1 or 2 of those a month, and you can get a 3-star, a 4-star, or a 5-star moonlight, and everybody wants all the 5-star moonlights because, like I said, you're only going to get 1 or 2 of them a month, and everyone's excited for the 5-star ones. So, yeah, that roadblock that you're going to hit up to and when you get to chapter 10 is basically preventing you from getting that particular thing.
Right.
So, and those units are, a lot of them have like a lot of crazy things that only they can do, and they're kind of like the big prizes. And since moonlights don't have necessarily they don't follow the elemental wheel of like strong, weak, whatever, they're only opposed to each other. The moonlights. Right. So they've got that going for them when it comes to those advantage, disadvantage.
I'd say if anyone is like me and you've been listening for the last couple of months about the praise that we've been heaping on it on the show, go download it and start it. I mean, you don't have to spend any money on it. I spent the $5 for the monthly thing.
The monthly.
Yeah, you get a bunch of money, experience boosters and stuff, and $5 is cheap enough for me to spend a month. But yeah, so far I've been happy. I have a pretty solid team right now that I'm pretty happy with. I'm working on changing someone's job or whatever I've
specialty?
Yeah, changing the specialty.
Oh yeah, Montmorency. She's like super good for specialty change.
So who's your team, if you remember their names?
Oh sure, it's Roz, that terrible starting unit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Along with
you know he's not bad at all. I have a friend who uses him to very much effect, and he actually does more damage than a lot of other units in the game. What's really good is like his S2. First of all, kind of drags along another unit's S1, the strongest attacker on your team's S1. Mm-hmm. So in certain comps, you can create like a chain reaction with him, with his S2. So, like, for example, like a Bellona's S1 has a chance to proc her, like, if you set it up right, will proc her S3, I believe, or S2. I don't remember. And it reacts to something. So if Ross does that and she's your highest attacker, she joins in, and then you could cause a chain reaction of basically your strongest attacker getting a free turn when it's not their turn, and possibly doing more damage. So it's like, you can create like a good team around him, and he basically just makes your attackers better. But
my game finally loaded. I have Roz, Mercedes, which both of them I'll get rid of soon.
Mercedes is not very good, no matter how I look at it.
Very not. I have Montmorency, who is largely my healer, and then Dominiel, the like cat lady.
Oh.
Yeah, I managed. When I was doing, for everyone listening, when you get to a certain point in the story and they're like, all right, let's do a whole bunch of summons, where they're guaranteed summons, and, you know, you get like 30, 40 of them you can try, something like that.
Yeah, 30 attempts to get 10.
30 attempts, and they're like, hey man, if you find one you don't like, just keep doing it, but you only have 30, and you never get them back ever again.
Right.
I was like, okay, cool. So I was rolling, and I wasn't really getting anything. I was looking at some like general guides of, not putting too much salt in them, but looking at people saying like, what units are, undoubtedly great. And I got one pull, the one I kept, where I got 3 copies of Dominiel in one. And I was like, okay, well, cool. I will take that. I will feed those other ones into her, so she'll immediately be better. And she has done really well. So both her and Monty are both sort of the cornerstones of my party right now.
Cool.
But yeah, Epic 7 is really great. People should go play it, and then join the TVGP Guild if you start playing.
So I pulled something super exciting.
Oh, I saw, yeah.
Yeah, I pulled Moonlight Ken. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The subreddit seems to love Ken.
So, back when the game started, Ken, the regular Ken, was considered to be the overall worst 5-star to pull. If you pull him, it's like the saddest day ever, because he's not good. And they've just buffed him and buffed him and buffed him until the point that now regular Ken is pretty amazing. He's like a huge bruiser that just, does defense down on his one skill and speeds himself up, and he's just really solid, like a bruiser that can deal out pretty good damage as well as take the damage. ML Ken is like even better in a sense, because I think they're both about even, but I do recognize ML Ken is pretty amazing for one reason. So his damage is scales off of his HP, and what's really nice about ML Ken is anything that like punches him, he will counterattack and do damage based on I think is it the HP he's lost or whatever, or something like that. Like that. So, like, basically, to fight him, you have to be able to one-shot him, basically.
Otherwise he, like, goes Hulk.
Or he turns around and hulks out on you. And his S3 does an AoE defense down with, like, a huge amount of damage. It's so good, and when I pulled him, I nearly dropped my phone. I was like shaking. I was like, "Oh my god, it's happened!" So it's so exciting that I got that. So I think I need to say some really nice things about the game, because it's occurred to me that like a lot of people might see something different about this game from other gacha games. So like this game, they actually kind of tune characters a little bit when they're too overpowered or when they need buffs because they're not good enough or something like that. They do actually tune the characters, and whenever there's like, let's say bugs or glitches or something like that, we are compensated. So I want to give like a positive thing that has happened. So there are things called mystic summons, and there are people out there that spend money on mystic summons. And they had a particular artifact on this banner that people paid money for and went after it. And what they found out as a result, because this artifact had been in the game for since the beginning, and people had used it, but nobody really said anything too much about it. And this is why I think it was an accident that they discovered it, because of suddenly everybody was pulling it, and suddenly everybody found out what this artifact did. It was bugged. It was doing way too much, and so they had to fix it because its potential was far too high, and it was basically unbalanced. Right. So they had to balance it back. But the problem is, because you should be able to see the problem here, is that a lot of people spent money on it. So what they did was they were like, if you spent money on this or whatever, we will refund you on that. Basically refund you by giving you back what you spent. Nice. So a lot of people were still kind of upset about this. They feel like this was like a scam or a cheat to get them to spend money on it. I don't think it was. I think it
sounds like it's just a genuine accident.
It was an accident, and they refunded it. And then some people get mad because of they had overpowered units, and they had to cull them back over time, where it's just this unit was too strong, we had to cull it. But it's a 5-star hero, and people are brokenhearted about it. Whenever that happens, they always have a recall button on your unit, and when you recall the button, anything that you put into that unit, you get back, and it resets them to basically like you just pulled them, and you get all the materials that you spent in back. But people still get mad about it. To me, I don't see a problem here, because in my mind it's they fixed something that was too strong, and basically was way too meta dominating. Right. I don't think they're going to do that with Dizzy. They haven't done it with any limited units in the game yet. I guess the reason is they can't really. That'd be a kick to people who chase limiteds, I guess.
Right.
So they haven't done that with limiteds, but they have done that with other heroes, and they've buffed and nerfed different units. Like Ravi, for example, she just recently got a buff, but she had been nerfed once or twice now in the past because she was too strong, but now she's gotten the buff back. So this is kind of strange for a lot of people with gacha games, because they don't expect a gacha game to do any balancing.
Right.
So that's something that I want people to be aware of when they get into Epic 7, because they might feel slighted, but I always feel like they've turned around, and anytime they've done something that has been kind of like a patch or a fix or an update or a nerf or whatever, they've gone and kind of given back to the players. The Molagoras, for example, they used to be so expensive, because if you look at the units now, you have to spend 3 Molagoras to upgrade skills or whatever. It used to be 9 or 15 or
so it was an impossibility.
It felt like you were basically putting a ring on a unit. The amount of the amount you had to really go for a unit.
Right.
And when they did the when they pulled back on that number, when they were okay, we're gonna nerf this down to only 1 Molagora, then 2 Molagoras, and then 3, and just like that, they gave back all the Molagoras you spent on those units. All went back to the players, all those extra ones. So they were just here you go.
So they want to be fair about it.
So, and they did the same thing with gear as well. They did some changes to gear that was it negatively impacted the players who had already put into the gear, so they gave back. So it's kind of a balancing act, really. And I've never seen, to me, I don't feel like I don't feel like it's a scam, really. Every business out there wants to make money, so I think that's some people are they're being greedy, and I'm it's a business. Every business wants to make money.
They could be really greedy. You haven't seen anything.
They don't have to do all these extra things that they do when they apologize. They don't have to they could have easily not given players back anything for anything that they've done. They could have just basically stuck their foot in the ground. But they've actually done what I would have considered the maximum I would expect somebody to give back. And
they did the right thing.
Yeah. So just kind of letting people know, because I know that sometimes new people walk into this game and they find out all this stuff and they're like, wow, this is such a scam. And it's It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I've not encountered anything in this game that's made me go like, that's pretty scammy. The only thing I don't deal with is like the cash shop is like it's way too that's a whaley territory.
Well, the cash shop
expensive.
Is very expensive, yeah. But thankfully, like you guys have been talking about for the last couple months, and it never really clicked with me until I started playing it, is you really don't need to spend money on it. Like, I don't even need to spend that $5 a month. I like the extra stuff it gets me. But you don't really have to spend money on that stuff. You'll just get it pretty generously as you play, especially if you do like the revolving events that are going on too.
Yeah, the events are really good. I like the you even have like a little generator in your town that kind of generates the paid currency, even though you get it elsewhere. But it's kind of nice, and honestly, they put so much attention to like the graphics in this game, and just kind of like wow, the amount of detail that they put into this adorable mobile game.
It looks so good.
It does.
Yeah.
And I just like that the devs are constantly having like nice updates, and honestly the content has just been getting better and better. I'm looking forward to some things. They're going to be including things that will like kind of auto loot chests for you in the future.
Oh, nice.
So there's a lot of like cool stuff that they're making for the game, and honestly it's my favorite gacha game at the favorite mobile game.
It's really the only gacha I'm playing right now, because I think Final Fantasy Brave Exvius is treading into territories where the game is starting to have problems.
Ugh.
So I'm sunsetting that one fairly quickly.
I pretty much only log into that one now.
Yeah.
I've because of honestly Epic 7 weaned me off of it pretty strongly. And you'll notice when you get into like the real like higher difficulty of Epic 7 is that a lot of the ways that you like get further in the game doesn't have to really do with units all that much. It's the gear that is basically farmed that makes you better.
It reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy Record Keeper, where you'd get some bonuses with when you're using units from that Final Fantasy game, but you were really concerned about the gear and how you upgraded that and how you sort of got that all set up on your units.
I think of it kind of like Diablo in a sense. Like Diablo 3 is like very gear centric, but you can farm it. It's just like it's farmable.
Yeah.
It's just the time you spend.
I have a gear question for you, Mina.
Yes. Absolutely.
What is the best way to grind leveling up materials for amulets and rings?
So they actually created a new shop or building in the town that you keep. I don't know what to call it, the sanctuary or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that thing actually converts your junk into like runes and stuff. When it comes to like getting like accessories or whatever, like things to upgrade accessories, if you're really diehard about it, the thing that you send dispatch missions on, if you upgrade the building that gets you those ancient coins, I don't know if you've seen that shop.
I don't remember what it's called.
I don't remember what it's called.
I know I've spent some ancient coins because I've been buying the Season 2 armor set slowly but surely.
Yeah. So that's the season set is spent with conquest coins. The ancient coins are like the silvery white looking coins that you usually get from doing Labyrinth, but you can send dispatch people to go get you those coins as well. And that is where you can actually buy the like ring upgrades or accessory upgrades, and that's what I did for the longest, just to upgrade my accessories. But other than that, I usually just check the Labyrinth shop, like the little goblin guy or whatever, or not goblin guy, Hoochie, the bunny looking guy. My bad. The bunny looking guy occasionally will sell you like those charms as well. So I check that daily. I go and check and see what he's got, and buy from him if at all. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to like I'm still getting a grip on strategy and team composition and what to equip with whom. Like every time I get a character, I'll look into the ratings and just look for someone to say, "Hey, put a crit set and attack set on this character."
Right,
And then
right.
that's what I will do. And like it's that's about as far as I get with the equipment. I'm trying to look at more what like generates the things in their
Yeah.
powers for the stats now, but I'm still
So
don't have a huge grip on that yet.
So, like with a character that uses bleeds or burns, or like bleeds and burns, you want attack over like a lot of other stats, because if they're reliant on that, that's where they get the boost in damage. And you have to kind of like look at a unit speed or whatever. What are you trying to like accomplish really? Like if you want like a unit to go, if they're just applying debuffs and they don't really need attack damage because they're just there to like apply these debuffs or whatever, you want them to be fast. So like a Dizzy, for example, she doesn't need any other stat outside of like you want her fast, and then tanky enough to survive whatever's in her way. So and effectiveness, because you want debuffs to land. So effectiveness. If you're doing like PvP builds, effective resistance at higher levels is good on everybody. Like everybody needs effective resistance. That's just how it is at the higher level of PvP, because everybody uses status ailments to cripple you at the higher tier. Like that's just how it's done. That's kind of like meta things. And then like paying attention to like small little things about a unit's kit. Like if you see something like HP lost or maximum HP or something like that's like it's basing a skill after, obviously you want to make that unit more bulky as possible to take advantage of that bulk. And honestly there's like some units that it's just kind of like, well, they're a glass cannon. And that's what they're going to be. So
do your best.
Yeah, pretty much you usually pair like glass cannons with a unit that can push a turn faster, and you make the turn pusher like really, really fast. Like you want them lightning fast, and then that turn pusher pushes the person who's just going to explode the other side, and that's the utility there.
I guess I sort of do that with Assyria, and then my team is Assyria, and then Saul and Lauren. Is that her name? Lorraine. It's an L word. The no good knight chick in the purple, the blonde chick in the purple.
Right.
That I still have not finished her specialty class for. I'm missing like 2 urgent missions. Anyway, no, I need to look at my Assyria build, like, because she's pure. And that explains it a lot too, because when I use her main, like, which is supposed to debuff the opponent, like it misses a whole lot. So I need to get her with speed gear and then things that up her effectiveness. I think you said.
Yeah, effectiveness. Yeah. So that would be a like if you wanted to put a set on her, a hit set would be a boost to her, or if you just get like a ring with like a high effectiveness as the main stat. That sort of thing.
Well, and I mainly want her for her B power, which is the refresh all the other characters' powers. So, like, that's the primary thing I want. But if I can get her third power, which does that debuff, then on the enemy, then that'd be nice too. And I think is speed of 4 equipment set.
So a flat speed, like I don't know what the best base number of a speed on a piece of gear, but it can go up pretty high. I think I've seen a screenshot of somebody with like a flat 19 on something, like as a substat. That's crazy. That's the luckiest rolls I had ever seen in a speed stat set. But like, if you ever wondered why like somebody just goes so ridiculously fast in like PvP or whatever, they've got some monstrous speeds on their units. Yeah. The game's gear, like I said, the gear is where like a lot of power comes from. You take good gear and you put it on any unit, and you see the true potential of a unit then. Because I think a lot of people will only notice like the units that have like quality amounts of damage without any gear. There's some units out there that are really good without even the tiniest bit of gear. But then when you put like really good equipment on another unit, you'll see, oh, this is what that unit could actually do, potentially. So
Right.
that's why I kind of say to like a lot of people, like, this game is really free to play friendly in the sense that the best powered things are the things that you can farm.
Right.
The units themselves are largely, you build teams around what you have and it'll work. I think I have a guy in my guild who runs like only 2-star little monsters that you get from the game. Just like you kill the monsters and you pick them up.
Right.
He runs a team of 6 stars of those little 2-star monsters, and he just clears content. So
Jeez.
I mean,
so go nuts.
like I said, it's so friendly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, go play Epic 7. It's really good. Musum, anything else for you from this month?
That is it for me.
All right, Mina, what about you?
Oh my gosh, so I played a lot of things, but I am going to cull my list down to the one thing that I've played so much of in this past week, and that is Shadowbringers on Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh, yes.
So, I kind of checked out of Stormblood in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, I played it so little that one could say that I didn't play it at all.
Right.
And I know that like it wasn't anywhere near as bad as I felt it was, but I think a lot of players that I encountered had kind of the same sort of feeling as me, where like Stormblood just didn't do it for a lot of us.
Yeah. Like it was fine, but you just it didn't click with you.
Yeah, it didn't click with me. It didn't click with like a lot of people that I knew of, and I could argue all day long back and forth on why that was, but overall, I had like problems with the way they handled, kind of the way they built classes in Stormblood. It was kind of like a phase that they were going through. They went from Heavensward being like a phase where there's a lot of button management, just like probably overwhelming to a lot of people, and so you had a lot of complexity with a lot of the classes. And they culled those buttons by so much that it felt like a lot of classes that had a lot of things going on with them lost a lot of what their class was about. I don't know how to put it into words other than it just felt like they took like a knife and started like cutting apart all these parts of classes, and then so then you had what I would just like a mangled mess of a class that you used to like in the previous expansion, but now it's like a mangled mess in a sense. And what was frustrating was the new classes that they introduced, they were clearly like cultivated with this new lesser button scheme in mind, if that makes sense. Like they were made for this. They were made so their class felt whole. It didn't feel like it had like, it wasn't like a Swiss cheese. It was just like, no, this is a perfect built class for this situation. Whereas a lot of other people's classes felt like, what have you done?
Right.
What have you done? And so it was pretty frustrating for me at least, and for a couple of people. And combined with just, I don't want to say like a bad story, because it wasn't bad. It was okay. It was not good. It was just okay. So I think a lot of us kind of were like, there's a lot of games we haven't played in a while. We should go play a lot of other games.
Right.
And so we did. Like, that sort of feeling. So I didn't have high expectations going into this expansion. I had pretty mediocre, going like, well, I'll just play it and see what's going on, see what they did to my class, if it's still a garbage heap, or like, I don't know what's going on. So I come back to it with like pretty not so high expectations, and maybe that's why I had have to say what I have to say. This is probably the best content I've had in this game, and it is amazing that they took us. Well, the other thing was like, so they've been going down a different story path this entire time, just going like, so there was 1.0, and I have to explain this bit by bit, but there was 1.0, and if there was any complaints you could have about 1.0, the things that you wouldn't have complained about was, 1, the story, 2, how things looked graphically. Maybe they didn't run on your computer, which you would complain about, but graphically, no one's going to tell me that it looked bad, because it looked too good.
Right.
Problem. And then 3, the music. Nobody complained about Uematsu's music. Like, nobody. So those are the 3 things nobody ever complained about. But when A Realm Reborn started, they kind of took like one little tiny aspect of the 1.0 story, and they kind of like bailed on the rest of it. They just were like, it's behind us. It's goodbye.
Right. That's the old stuff.
That's the old stuff. We're on the new stuff. So with Shadowbringers, they actually went back to the 1.0 story, and they're like, we're going to close this out. We're gonna like that. They were like, that's the potential that we left untapped, and we're mining it now for resources, and we're bringing the story back. I have heard from so many people who played 1.0, people who haven't played 1.0, that this is their favorite story. I've heard from a lot of people that not only is this their favorite story, that's their favorite Final Fantasy story.
I've heard that a lot lately, yeah.
I've been hearing from people this is one of their favorite JRPG stories, period.
Yeah.
I can only describe what happened in the movie or game. Blah, is like an action movie, kind of like, you know, you're the main character of this action movie, and it hit like the high point of the movie, you know, where it's like it hit the lowest point where, you know, you're like, the heroes are like, you know, oh no, what's gonna happen to our heroes? And then it hit that high point, that really, really high point where it's like, yeah, it's like the heroes have done it. Like,
right.
You get
Goku goes Super Saiyan the first time.
And you're just like, whoa! And just like, you know, light is going everywhere, and they've got the music. They have the music on point. They had that music kick in that I've only seen done like to this amount of effect in like Saints Row the Third had that music kick in at the right moment where you're just like, holy smokes. This one had that moment with I Need a Hero. That's what I would describe this moment as. Like, I'm holding my chest, just going like,
it's so
and
good.
I'm doing the thing, and the music's kicking in, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And it's like, you want me to battle right now with this song going on right now? Right. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I'm so frantic, and then it's just, it ends and closes, and it ends in such a nice way. I have like a tear rolling down my face because it's hitting me so emotionally with these characters that I had largely basically been like, I don't care about this. I don't care about this game. I'm just gonna play it. And I felt something, and I had a tear rolling down the side of my face, and like, man, I've not felt this way about a game in a while. It was so good. I couldn't do anything for like a week. I had intended to watch you know, Summer Games Done Quick, and I didn't. I had nothing to do with it at all. I'm going to have to go back and watch the VODs because I was so overwhelmed by the story. I was playing like I was like 17 again, and it's like a launch, and I need to play it all and not sleep. That's how good this is.
I gotta keep playing.
I couldn't stop. So it's really good, and I know like a lot of people won't like, a lot of people who don't play MMOs or don't have the time or whatever will not get to see it, and honestly, piecing it out for somebody and trying to explain to somebody like all these little moments, I don't know if that would hit like the same emotional feels or ties to the thing, because these are characters that you'd been with for the long haul. You'd seen them at their highs and lows, and you'd seen like them pushed to their breaking points. And that's another cool thing, is that this particular expansion, we actually can party with those NPCs and actually go into dungeons with the NPCs and
cool.
fight alongside them. So I made sure to do the last battle that I could do with them instead of playing with other people. Because I knew it was like the last dungeon we could do together, and I was like, okay, NPCs, we're going in together as a team.
Right.
And even though it took a little longer, it felt more emotional to me to have the NPCs by my side, because in the story, they're the ones in your cutscenes, not random players.
Right.
So man, it's been a good time. So I don't want to encourage people to play an MMO because I feel like that's a life commitment I don't want to do. But if you were looking for an MMO, or if you were not impressed with the previous expansion and you're like, should I try it? Try it.
Yeah, now's the time.
Get in right now. You'll have a great time.
It's never been better.
This is probably... I don't want to say that this is the best it will ever be. The director of the game has stated, like, he knows that, like, people are going to think to themselves, are they trying to shut this game down? Because they are doing a lot right now. Like, is this the last... Like, this is the... He's like, this is going to feel like our last hurrah, but it's not.
Right.
He said, like, this is just the beginning. So... he said, like, don't think that we're trying to close this game. We're just pulling out all the stops for this.
Yeah.
To do it right. And what amazing! I think someone had told me that they actually had a different writer for this particular expansion, like a new female writer for the main scenario. And I don't know if that's why the emotional hits are like really, really hitting, like in a way that I've never experienced before. Not saying that, like, I'm saying that it's a new writer. Maybe this particular writer has the deft hand to, like, really hit some emotional bits. But it's had funny parts, sad parts that make you angry. It's got it all. So it's been really good. I don't think I could sing any more praises about it. Oh, I complained about the classes of the last expansion. Right. So, really quick, and then I'll close this out for me. So I had problems with the way that they had crafted the classes in the last expansion. With this one, they have done their hardest to really make classes work with with, I don't want to say it's like completely new, but a battle system that works for it. So a lot of the classes that felt like they had holes everywhere, they've gone in, taken those classes, and actually, like, built the class again to, like, work. Some classes didn't need that much work at all. Others did. I know that there's a couple classes that are feeling pretty bad right now, and I'm hoping that they get fixed, but my class in particular, which felt so terrible, feels like it's whole again. Like, it feels like it's a complete class. And maybe that's why I'm
playing.
I play Summoner.
Oh,
I play
okay.
Summoner. Yeah. And so I think the thing was I'll put this in WoW terms. Summoner used to be like a dot class. The dot block basically is what it used to be. They've culled back on the dotting of this class to the point now I almost feel like it's a little more akin to like the Hunter class, where it's got like way more pet sort of things going on, like a Beastmaster pet, like I forget what it's called. So it feels more petty, and I was and some people hate that. They're like, I liked it better when it was a dot class, but I'm like,
yeah, give me all the pets.
I don't care. This is a pet class. Summoner is a pet class.
You're supposed to summon things.
I don't want to hear otherwise.
Right.
Like, if they want to make a dot class, they can make a dot class, but summoners should be the summoning pet class.
Right.
Like, I should not have to do dots. But, I mean, it still has dots. It's just, it's way more focused now on the pet aspect, and I think that's the right direction to take the class into.
Yeah.
So, complaints aside, I think they've done a good job. I think a lot of people who really only like the complexity of the Heavensward expansion, we're never going to get that again. We're never going to get that level of complexity again. That was that required people to play at peak performance to clear content. and I just don't think that that earns you money.
Right.
Like, it's fun for the people who can play at that level, but it's also a huge, like, that's a wall garden that casual players or people who only play like 1 hour or 2 hours a night, they could never possibly climb that and enjoy the game. So that
Right.
that really pushes people out. So we're never going to get that again. We're only going to get watered down classes, but I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk anymore about an MMO. I'm gonna let you take it from here, Boston.
All right, two real quick ones for me. First up, I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2, but we're sort of into a season now, a season of opulence, so there's not a lot of it is inside baseball, and a lot of it is not super exciting. Quick reminder for anyone that wants to get started on Destiny 2, basically they've packaged up everything Destiny 2, all the way up until the next expansion. Every platform has that for $40. That gets you literally everything that is out for Destiny 2 right now. And you can get started, and then in September, when cross save comes out, you can carry your characters over to everywhere else. If you don't want to play that until the free thing comes out, that comes out September 17th. That's called New Light. Or if you just want to play the new stuff on the moon, that's a standalone expansion. Destiny 2's first standalone expansion. So, enough selling of Destiny 2. Come play Destiny 2 with me. I'm on PS4. Hit me up, Jansen, on PS4. Final Fantasy V Forge Out Fiesta 2019, running right now. I have completed my first run. I did a pre-registration Chaos and Berserker Risk run, and I got Geomancer, Berserker, Bard, and Chemist. So to say that was an easy run would be an understatement. I breezed through that run. I farmed a little bit for some final game stuff, but I cleared that game out in a little under 15 hours, which is a pretty solid run for the Fiesta. I'm now on my second run. I just did a normal run to see what I could get. I got Monk, Time Mage, Ranger, and Dragoon, so half are really good and half are useless. Those of you who are curious at home, Monk and Dragoon are useless.
I was guessing that. Oh, that's sad. That's it. Monk falls off, I'm guessing.
Monk falls off after the first world. Yeah,
it's really sad.
Yeah, it's bad. Unsurprisingly, Time Mage is really great. I just got Meteor, which puts out around 10,000 damage minimum per turn, which is just insane. And Ranger is a class that I thought I had never gotten before, and I largely thought was useless. But they actually, when you master their class, they get a skill called Rapid Fire, I believe it's called. Basically, you hit 4 times with your weapon on random targets. That normally wouldn't be super exciting because they can only use bows, but they can also use daggers, which means in World 3, you power up Chicken Knife, you hit with that 4 times, Rabbit Hit won't proc that escape action that Chicken Knife has a chance to do. So you're hitting with the strongest weapon in the game 4 times at once per turn. It's insane. I'm beating bosses in a final dungeon in 2 or 3 turns.
Wow.
It's just,
man.
It's just an insane. It's one of those things where it's like, great, I just got this random smattering of units, and I am pretty unstoppable at this point. So it has been a surprisingly pretty good run with only a few minor hiccups here and there. Mina, I know you're playing it, right?
Yeah, I only have 3 of the jobs so far unlocked. I played it the first day, and then this whole Shadowbringers thing happened.
Right.
I have, I believe my 3 crystal jobs are Monk, Summoner, and Bard. Those are the 3 that I have.
You have no problem finishing the game.
Monk has been so much fun, though. I'm sad that it falls off.
What's really great is as Monk gets worse, Summoner and Bard get infinitely better. Bard is... So the thing that made my first run so easy is that Bard on all but I think the Super NES version. The very last song you get for playing the 8 pianos, it's called Hero's Rhyme in the retranslated version. What that does is that boosts your party's level, just your raw level number.
Yeah.
When you level up your characters, normally you can get up to level 99. When you use Hero's Rhyme, the maximum is 255. So if you use that, if you start that at the very beginning of the final boss battle, by the time you get to the second phase, your characters are in the upper level 100s, and you're just mowing right through stuff. It's really great. Amisum, have you been playing this too?
I have not.
Okay. Yeah. There's a Discord channel I created on our Discord server if anyone wants to chat about it. We have a bunch of people starting. I'm helping people if they need it for their runs and whatnot. And it's.
I think I need to break open a guide or something because I've never had a summoner before, and so I'm like, how do I?
Yeah, there's a couple of summons you don't want to skip. Like Golem is really easy to miss, but you're gonna want that one for sure because it guards against just a ton of physical damage. Carbuncle is one you'll really want to get.
I have a feeling I might skip them if I don't open up like a guide or something.
You should open up a guide, yeah.
Open up Summoner tab and just be like, scroll down to where
you definitely want to get Odin. You can skip Leviathan. Get Bahamut if you can. Carbuncle is really hard
Shiva. I didn't know that. I didn't know I knew they talked about Shiva existing in that one time. I was like, where is...
Like, oh, this tower is really cold. And you're like, okay. It's like, oh, Shiva's up there. Oh, I would have never known. Yeah.
I had to open the guide and, like, look, and they were like, check behind the waterfall. And I was like, where's this waterfall?
Right.
I'm just wandering around, like, where do I go?
Yeah, especially so you don't you lose out on Golem. Because that's a... If you don't know that that's a summon, it's a really hard summon to get. Just because it's really weird. And don't forget to grab a gold hairpin in the pyramid in the third world.
It's amazing to me that I've probably done like the Fiesta like 5 or 6 times now, and I didn't know that this stuff existed in the game. Like I just came across you. It's like I didn't even know you were here. I didn't know this was a place I could go. Like I've played this game so many times now. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I just looked at my backlog here. I've been running it since 2011, and there's still stuff I'm finding out, like this Ranger chicken knife thing. Like, I didn't know it. The chicken knife, of course, is the strongest weapon in the game, but I had no idea you could eliminate its only downside and buff it stronger than that. Like, it's... Yeah, Summoner is really cool, but it's one of those... There are very few classes in the game that I would recommend playing with a guide open, but that's definitely one of them.
And I've been like I need to make sure I'm playing all the pianos. I feel like I'm missing a piano or something.
I'll send you a guide in Discord.
Okay.
I'll send you a good one that I use. There's one that I really like that is not a walkthrough, but it's very much like you have played the Fiesta before.
I've played it.
Here are the things you need to know for your characters. Don't miss X, Y, and Z. It's up to you to find out where they are. But in your run, here's where you should get them. So,
man, I'll tell you, your guys' Discord channel on the Fiesta thing seems like it's hopping.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people. I'm really happy this year. There's a bunch of people that I think because the mobile and Steam versions are pretty easy to get now. You don't have to emulate the Game Boy Advance version or emulate the Super NES version. You can play it on your phone, even though it's obviously not the best version. It's so easy for people to get into it that I think a lot of people are finally taking the leap, and I'm really happy to see so many people getting into the Fiesta, which is very much the problem solving. Like, here's a boss, I'm beating my head against it. How do I manipulate the boss and my skills and the equipment I have to sort of put the puzzle together and then finally be able to beat the boss? Because most of the bosses are not a level check. most of them are how do you beat it with the tools you have available. Final Fantasy V is so good. I'm so happy that Fiesta's back. I love it. But that's all I've been playing. We've been recording for a little bit here, and we've got some stuff to record in the second segment, so let's take a quick break. And while we do that, Mina, I'm going to send you...
all of the good...
Sorry, guys. I realized, like, in the second half that TennoCon for Warframe was going on, which I haven't played Warframe in months, but man, I don't know. They have some cool stuff going on.
I always forget what this thing is called. There it is.
I'll go get some water.
All right. I'm going to send you a link, Mina, and you'll see what it does pretty quickly, but you'll want to put in the jobs that you have. If you don't have all 4 jobs, that's fine. And it will give you sort of a Cliff's Notes of how to...
I can possibly cheat to figure out what my 3rd job...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like, by the time I get my second job, I just hit the button on the website where it's like, just give me 3 and 4. I know I'm going to beat it. I know I'm cheating, but... Yeah, so you'll put them in, and then it'll give you... Like, the top section is a breakdown of why these classes are good or bad. If they're bad, sort of how to mitigate some of their weaknesses. And then, section by section through the game, it'll show you... Here's the things you don't want to miss. Here's how to take advantage of this boss. Here's how to cheese this boss. Stuff like that. Okay, close Discord here. Get out of here, Discord. But yeah, that is the tool. I don't like to give it to people that are running the Fiesta for the first time because it's not a walkthrough.
Right.
And for first-time players, they probably just need a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And a little bit of help of, like, I'm fighting Twintania, help, what do I do? And it's like, I can help you. Actually, there was someone who was asking for some help with Twintania. I wonder if they eventually got through it. Ugh, I gotta open Discord back up. Sorry, everyone on stream. I was mostly giving... Muse some time to go have a bathroom break. No, he hasn't fought it again.
Mystic Knight is my 4th job.
Oh, Mystic Knight is so overpowered. Have you had Mystic Knight before?
I don't know.
Okay. Mystic Knight, you will definitely want to follow that document then, because they are... Mystic Knight is, you... fuse spells to your weapon, and then you attack with that. It's one of the few classes that uses the break spell, where it turns someone into stone. Basically, you can turn some encounters, you can turn your weapon into just every time you hit, you turn someone to stone and you one-shot kill them. Like, and if you can't do that, you use flame or flare, and you do crazy non-elemental damage. Mystic Knight's fun. Okay. Are you guys ready to do the second segment?
Let's do it.
I am ready.
Crazy today.
And I've got the thing up.
Okay.
So I can follow along.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll show you your summons too. Sometimes it'll tell you, like, just don't bother with the summon. It's not great for reasons X, Y, and Z, but at least it'll tell you, don't leave this section until you get this summon. So, all right, let's start in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk RPG releases for July 2019. As we talked about in the first segment, Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers is out now for PC and PS4. Dragon Quest Builders 2 comes out on the Switch and PS4 on the 12th. I am looking forward to this one. This looks great. This looks even better than the first one.
I love the first one, and my only complaint about the first one was that I wish it was longer so that I could play more of it. And then secondly, it would be nice if I could play with, like, a friend.
Yeah, and there is multiplayer in this one, right?
There is, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, this game looks really great. God Eater 3 comes out on the Switch on the 12th. And last but certainly not least, Fire Emblem Three Houses comes out on the Switch on the 26th. I was sure we weren't going to see this until like November, and now it's about 3 weeks away. So
right there.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about E3 2019. That's our only news story this week, but there is usually E3 is kind of RPGs are a footnote for the show, and thankfully this year, not just Square Enix brought a bunch of RPGs, but a ton of companies brought a lot of stuff. So let's start off with we're going to go in order of how they were broadcast during the show. Google Stadia talked very quickly about 2 RPGs. Division 2 will be on Google Stadia. Destiny 2 will be on Stadia. They showed off a couple of existing RPGs. Then they came out and said, yo, Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out and it's developed by Larian, the studio behind Divinity Original Sin. It's like, great. That's okay.
Who I want. That's who I want.
I want them.
It's awesome kind of hearing the story behind that. Like, evidently Larian, I think, made Divinity Original Sin, and then they went to Wizards of the Coast and said, hey, we want to make Baldur's Gate 3. And they were like, no.
Fair enough.
And like, it just developed over time with them doing Divinity Original Sin 2. Like, when they were pitching the Dungeon Master mode in Divinity Original Sin 2, like they had that D&D module that they recreated to show off their Dungeon Maker tech.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like, they haven't explicitly said it, but the tinfoil hat inside me says that module got them the job.
Yeah, they threw that at Wizards of the Coast, and they're like, "Look, we can do it. Just let us do it, man." Yeah.
And it's also coming out for everything else too.
Yeah, it's coming out on consoles and PC and all that.
Yeah.
So that was a very pleasant surprise, and it's nice to see a storied franchise is coming back with pretty much the exact developer you would want working on it. So, 2 thumbs up. Let's move on to Microsoft. They show off Minecraft Dungeons. Basically, they're making sort of a Diablo dungeon crawler in the Minecraft world universe. So that I'm keeping my eye on that one because I feel like that could be potentially like Torchlight 1 was. If something like Diablo 3 looks a little bit too intimidating, this might be a really good entry point into the Diablo-like genre. Interesting. They didn't show off a ton of that, but they, of course, showed off Cyberpunk 2077 featuring Keanu Reeves.
Best moment at E3 right there.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves just coming out on stage. They showed a longer CG trailer on stage. Allegedly, there was a pretty significant amount of gameplay shown behind closed doors, but none of that has really surfaced in an official capacity. So that game still looks cool. I wish we would have seen some more gameplay, but I totally get it. It is coming out 4/16/2020, so that is sooner than I was expecting. I know a lot of us were thinking that was probably a 2021 game, but we'll see. That still looks... Are either of you thinking about picking that up when it comes out?
I'm kind of waiting on to see more gameplay footage for me. Me.
Yeah.
Me, I need to see stuff way before I buy it.
Right. You're not blinded by all the flashy CG.
It's so sad that I've become jaded that way, but
right.
I am 1,000% hyped for this game. So
okay, good.
I am holding back right now. Like I have, because it doesn't cost anything to pre-order stuff, so I went ahead and pre-ordered both the expensive versions on the game on PC and PS4 because I haven't figured out what platform I'm playing on yet.
Right.
I'm probably gonna get the stupid $100 whatever version. Like
Does it
to
come
me,
with, like a
like
cool statue or anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think it. Well, I don't remember what it comes with. I'm really dumb with money sometimes, guys. I'm in debt for a reason. Like CD Projekt Red just has kind of a storied history of like when they released Witcher 2, like there were a lot of complaints about it, and then they went back and fixed it, and they kept fixing it until everyone just adored that game that played it. And like everyone It's called Witcher 3, like one of the best RPGs of all time.
Oh, Witcher 3 is so good.
And now you have the same company saying, let's make like basically a Deus Ex game, but we're going to use this super colorful, crazy 80s cyberpunk aesthetic for it, you know?
Right.
And like I'm sure there'll be a bunch of crazy decision making, and like I'm a little bit disappointed in like the main character that they're showing off. Like he really is just like generic stock dude that could have auditioned for every single cover of every game ever.
It's really a disappointment too. Like when you look at the box art, it has this very bright yellow color, and you could have shown off like someone who looks cyberpunk, but you're kind of showing off like the Mass Effect dude.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that sucks.
They could have done something just 1,000 times more interesting.
Yeah.
And
put like a pink mohawk on them, and you're already ahead.
Like, like if they okay, I won't go there. But it really could have worked either way. But it's one of those, like, I know I shouldn't trust any developer, but at the same time, I think this is a fairly safe bet. I think you have a huge budget game with a company that's going to be willing to, like, whether it's good or not at the start, they're going to be willing to make it right. And I don't know, I'm 1,000, like, this game is selling everything I want in a game. I feel like it is specifically marketed to me. It'd be nice to see a mission, but in another way, like, I already know it's going to be a Deus Ex game. Like, at the end of the day, it's going to be, here's a map. There are multiple ways to get into various places, either through dialogue, hacking, or violence.
Right. Solve the objective. Yes. Right.
It'll be that with extreme character customization, and they'll probably have some sort of like hacker popularity economy thing in it, you know?
Yeah, like some serious augmentation system, like all the cyberpunk stuff you really want to see.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm hyped. I'll be getting it.
Check May 2020's PUP for more details.
Yeah.
Next game they showed was RPG Time: The Legend of Right. This was that really cool RPG they only showed off for maybe a minute or so, but it looked like a kid was sketching out levels in his notebook, and you were exploring through that and fighting like papercraft enemies, and there was a diorama in one point. It looked really cool, looked really unique, but not a ton of gameplay there. So it's one of those that I'm going to keep an eye on because it stylistically looks really neat. I'm just hoping that there's some meat there. They showed off Wasteland 3 coming out Xbox One and PC Game Pass at launch. That looks like more Wasteland. Like, they didn't take a bunch of time showing it off because they're just like, hey, here you go. It's another one of these. It'll be good.
So like, I'm a Fig backer for this game. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was a big fan of Wasteland 2, which that trailer did not show off anywhere near the vibe that you got in Wasteland 2. Like, there was some goofy, like, stuff in it, like, particularly, I don't know, I think of goofy stuff, and I think of the stupid goats that follow you around that just scream like humans all the time. Like, you can get, like, 20 of them following you. But there was
that
no,
trailer
like,
leaned into that hard.
Yeah, the trailer was pretty, like, Borderlands-esque, I think, in the kind of their delivery, which I suspect the game won't really be that. I suspect they're going to have, like, kind of the serious tone they had before. So, and I assume, like, it's still coming out on PS4, even though InXile was bought by Microsoft, because I believe there was a PS4 backing level on the Fig.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, InXile put out a PS4 version later than the other versions on the second one, and they put out like a director's cut one.
Right. Well, and they did that with both the console versions that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they released the PC version, and I don't remember when they released the Mac or Linux versions, but the console versions came like a year later. I think they announced it mid-cycle. They said, hey, we're going to do these other versions. Don't worry, we're not going to make you wait for the version you backed. But on Wasteland 3, they just from the get-go said, we're doing all these platforms.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Next up, a surprise announcement that I would have never guessed. Phantasy Star Online 2 is coming out in the West.
You
For
could
real.
have told me many different things that would come out, and I would be far less surprised than hearing Phantasy Star Online 2. Those words combined.
Yeah. It's coming out on everything. I don't remember if it's coming out on Switch. I don't believe so. Crossplay across all platforms. All the content, which was just big in caps on the screen. Apparently this means all the expansions are available day one. It's free to play. It's coming spring 2020. So I'm still surprised that is an actual thing that is happening. 7 years after it came out in Japan?
It's been 7 years or something.
Almost 10 years?
I feel old thinking about it.
Yeah, but I'm excited. Thankfully, it's free to play. I might check that out when it comes out. They announced, they showed off a short trailer for Tales of Arise, the new game in the Tales series. I wrote down, that dude pulls a sword out of that lady's chest, and it looks like a Tales game 2020. So, you know what you're getting into at this point.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's good. The last couple have been pretty good. They haven't really been in a rut for a while, so... hopefully Tales of Arise comes out and is pretty good. If not, Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition is out now and super cheap, and it's good. So, Borderlands 3, they didn't show gameplay this time, which I thought was interesting since it's so soon. No change in release date. They did announce a brand new piece of DLC that's out now for the Handsome Collection that bridges the... I guess Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, focusing on Lilith. It's free, so go download that. Here, it takes like an hour or two to sort of check most of that out, but sort of bridges. In the same way that pre-sequel bridged some of that stuff, this DLC will bridge. And then they showed off the worst-kept secret in video gaming for about the last month, Elden Ring, which is the George R. Martin / From Software game, and they showed a CG trailer. So...
I mean, you could have showed me that trailer. I've been like, sure, that looks like a From Software trailer.
Yeah, that looks like a From Software game, and apparently George R. R. Martin is writing something. So, cool.
If they make, I know the Dark Souls fans don't want them to make anything different necessarily, but if they make something less Dark Souls,
right?
With this, I think I might be interested, but I suspect they won't.
Yeah, if I was to guess anything, I would guess they would make a standard From Software game. So,
yeah,
which is good, but I did that once, and I don't think I'll ever do it again.
It's good, and I like those games, but
Yeah.
I've come to terms with the fact that I'm not even going to finish playing the ones that I own.
Yeah, see, that's where I am. I'm like, I'm not good enough to beat this, so I'm not gonna...
I believe in you, Mina. I think you're good enough.
I beat Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
So I am good enough to beat
You can beat any of the rest
you
of
play
them.
every game on modes harder than either of us.
Yeah, that's right. Atlas super hard mode.
Listen,
So I think you're fine there.
There's a difference. I don't handle things that kind of look spooky or scary too well, and then I lose my nerve. I lose my nerve in a really bad way. So combine that with something that requires skill and have nerves, and I just can't do it.
That makes sense.
Pretty hard.
Those games are like 40 hours attention.
Yeah.
And that's if you're not level. Like, I play it like an RPG where I'm like, oh no, I want to grind till I get this thing. And I'm like level. I can't remember. I think the first time I played Dark Souls, I was like 30 or 40 hours in. And someone's like, where are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm just at that opener castle. I've just been grinding to get this weapon upgrade and stuff. And they're like I beat the game at that time. What are you talking about?
Like you're ready to finish it, man.
And I was not. It was still hard at that point, by the way.
Yeah. Up next was Bethesda. They showed off Elder Scrolls Blades. They showed off a bunch of stuff like Dragon Quest. Not Dragon Quest. I just played Dragon Quest 9 and Elder Scrolls Blades.
Elder Scrolls Dragon Quest. Have fun.
Please.
New Skyrim mod.
Yeah. They showed off a bunch of stuff. There's a Dragon Quest line. They're putting it out on Switch. It's coming out in fall 2019. They call it Switchblades. Question I have is what happened to all the other platforms, like PC and the other consoles and VR that you guys were gonna put it on? But that still looks like Elder Scrolls Blades, so either you're playing that or you're not. Don't play Elder Scrolls Blades. They showed more Fallout 76. The message was basically, hey, thank you for not giving up on us. Go ahead.
I guess I was a little bit more, took his thing a little bit more cynical. Like, I felt like he was saying, hey, it's your guys' fault we're still supporting this game.
Right. Just please let us rest. Just stop playing it. They did show the new expansion called Wastelanders that's coming out fall 2019. Human NPCs and dialogue trees are the big things that they're showing, so basically a Fallout game.
Man, whole new territory for Bethesda, right, guys?
Yeah, exactly. No private servers yet, but this is free. They also showed off a new game mode that I believe is still in the game. It's Nuclear Winter. It's a battle royale. It's 52 players. If you've listened to the show for maybe more than an episode, you know our feelings on Fallout 76. This is moving further away from what we were hoping Fallout 76 would get to.
I mean, I combined with that, I just don't want to play anything that.
Well, now you have Shadowbringers.
Showing? That's true. I have Shadowbringers, but
yeah.
But combined with the fact that like this isn't what I would want to play, just the whole overall like the debacle with this whole game and how they've been acting and treating and reacting, and just a lot of it has kind of put me in a state of I really don't want to hear the lip from them anymore.
Yeah,
it's just, I'm so far like just because they've been pushing this back as if like, you know, oh, it's the players' fault, because that's what they've been doing is like it's you guys, and I'm like no
Wait a minute,
don't you do this.
Yeah,
don't pretend like it's the players.
Yeah, the only thing I hope that comes out of Fallout 76 is that
a lesson.
They take a lot of time for the next generation of consoles to sort of build what it seems like they're doing for Elder Scrolls 6. I want them to do for Fallout 5, which is we're going to scrap everything, the engine and everything that makes a Fallout game, and we're going to rebuild it from the ground up to be something brand new. Because I think
kind of due for that. I feel like
have
this
they
engine
actually
has served this purpose.
Right?
Have they actually said they're scrap? Like I don't think they're scrapping their engine.
No, but I think that's what they need to do, because they keep dragging this engine along, like limping and hobbling, and they just get Unreal Engine 4, put Fallout in that, make it look great and run well, and just like start from the ground up and figure out what Fallout needs to be rather than putting out another Fallout game.
So like if you read the was it Polygon who did the Morrowind retrospective like a month or two ago?
I think so, yeah.
It's a real long read, but it's worth it. It gives you a really good idea of where Bethesda's at as a company and why they keep reusing that engine.
It's not.
Sure.
Not. Yeah. It like that's part of the reason why I'm in this state of like I just don't want to hear from them anymore, because it doesn't sound like the people who are in charge. There are people who care in that. There are people who care that it exists in that building, but the people who are in charge, who have the ability to make things happen,
right?
They don't care, and that's why I'm kind of in a place of like I wish I could support only the people that, you know.
I feel like that for a lot of companies right now.
Right?
Yes.
So I don't know what to do, because it's like I don't want to support that at all, but I know that the result of that is only the people I want to help are going to be hurt, and not the people who.
I'm having the same moral quandary with Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to support that dude, but pretty much everybody else in the company I would like to support. So what do?
I am in that situation with that.
I gotta tell you, I was about to play that Borderlands DLC, and then someone, I don't know if I read an article or somewhere, but guess what? Turns out the guy Pitchford was having a legal quabble with, like, he put like a joke quest in there about claptrap.
I did see that, and I
emulate, and it just killed me wanting to even like. I downloaded it and I read that, and I'm like, I'm I don't think I'm ever going to play this now.
I would like that to be a coincidence, but it seems a little too barbed to not be one. Yeah.
It's definitely a dig, and I hate that.
Yeah, it's nasty. Bethesda did show off more Elder Scrolls Online. I wrote down, I imagine this is what it's like when I talk about Destiny 2. That it's more ESO. They showed off a cool trailer with a Khajiit. I would really like for the Khajiit in the game to look like that. I would then play Khajiit exclusively. That was a cool looking cat dude fighting a dragon. He hissed at the dragon. I dig that.
I feel like ESO and Fallout 76 are going to kill the single player franchises. Is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I played ESO before. Like, it is the most bland. Like, if you could just say, let me make an MMO and just like kill every aspect that would make it like unique or whatever, and just like paint it with some.
I've heard it has come a long way, but it's still
gone better. But
it's certainly, like Fallout 76, it is not what we're looking for.
Well, and like again, like on that Morrowind article, when you read about like the conditions that led them to produce something as crazy as Morrowind, like visually, with all the weird alien landscapes and aesthetic, and then afterwards they're just like, no, we're gonna do something plain, just something normal and regular.
Yeah.
And the fact that like next game is aiming at probably being like Somerset Isles or something like that, somewhere that's another typical Tolkien-esque fantasy place.
Yeah, you're like European fantasy.
Yeah, like where they could go to like the Khajiit's place or
like
the Wood Elves place or
sure.
The Lizard, the Argonians. I forgot the names of everything. One of them's the Black Marsh. One of them's Elsewhere, and I forgot the other one. And I don't think it's actually called the Black Marsh anymore. I think that was just the first game. But anyway, sorry.
That's okay. Bethesda do better. That's our review of them at E3. Do better. Ubisoft came out and showed a whole ton of stuff, but only 2 RPG titles. Showed off The Division 2, basically saying, hey, The Division 2 is out, and here are the 3 story expansions that are coming in the first year. So the third one they showed off looks like it might be coming back around to the story of the first one, which would be really nice. But they didn't spend a lot of time on that because that's already out. They also showed off Gods and Monsters, a new game from the Assassin's Creed Odyssey team, which I'm hearing is an RPG, so we're sort of including it here. That was that really cartoony sort of blue sky, potentially hack and slash RPG, coming out December 25th, 2020. But that was it. Ubisoft showed off a whole bunch of shooters and a whole bunch of people yelling. Not a lot of RPGs. But let's talk about the big one, Square Enix. Unsurprisingly showing off the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Probably one of my favorite openings to a Square Enix press conference, with them having the Final Fantasy VII start menu and picking Remake, and then showing off a trailer was really good. They showed off a ton of actual gameplay, which is surprising. They show off a ton of the sort of scorpion tank fight at the end of the reactor at the very beginning.
I'm going to say now I understand why it's going to take that many discs to play this entire thing.
Yes.
Because the length of that scorpion fight.
Yes.
I've played Final Fantasy VII before. I fought that scorpion.
I finished disc 1 in that time.
It did not take that long to take that scorpion down.
No,
so...
it's they've come out and they've talked a lot about the first Final Fantasy VII Remake that's coming out, and saying like they're sort of taking Final Fantasy VII and treating that as an outline and then filling in all the parts where they couldn't get to before. Like, they're showing a bunch of stuff like Jesse and Biggs and Wedge all have a bunch of voice acting and they're actual characters now. Like, there's a whole bunch of additional stuff in there that seems really nice.
I really want to wait until, like, basically this game is out before I make this judgment, because I think that this is actually not bad anymore. If it's if it's a full, like, let's say they really go into all parts of Midgard, like places we never went to.
Right, like all the other sectors that we never went to.
If we travel all through there, then I can understand this being like a trilogy in a sense, where it's like we do like a whole thing of Midgard, and then like, you know, the ending of the game is them like finally like walking out and venturing out of Midgard, and that's like end game credits. Like
see you in chapter 2.
That. But I really want to wait until, like, you know, this game is completely out before I make a judgment on yes or no on, because I could see, I know they're putting all the money into it. I know because they're siphoning Final Fantasy 14 money into 7. Right. We've gotten that information that they are taking money from this MMO and
from one hand to the other. Yep.
It's like, so it's so basically that's where all the money for this MMO is going, by the way, is to your remake.
Right. Go play Shadowbringers. It's out now.
but it looks really good. I've heard a lot of complaints about how a lot of people don't like the battle system. They want Final Fantasy VII, and I feel like we need to spill some tea on this. We are not going to get things like that again, because the generation, this is going to hurt to some people, but the generation that grew up with Final Fantasy 13, by the way, love 13, and they love 15, and they are at odds completely with anybody who likes the older stuff. And I play Final Fantasy 14, so I play with the players that literally play Final Fantasy.
It's hard to sell a turn-based RPG today.
They don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
They don't.
The market doesn't want it at all. Like, there are a couple of niche titles that are gonna sell, especially strategy RPGs. You know, those are still gonna be turn-based, but which we'll talk about a couple strategy RPGs later. But
it'll still sell, but like the generation that's growing up right now doesn't want that. They want what 13 and 15 is.
And I think what they showed with essentially, you know, the old ATB system of active and wait. I think what they showed with the wait system in this looks really, really close to a turn-based system. I think it's a cool system.
Yeah.
So they showed off, just to wrap up what else they showed. They showed off Materia, which, unsurprisingly, they look like they're on the weapons now, which looks really cool. They showed off a much longer trailer. They showed off Tifa, who looks incredible, amazing. They showed off Limit Breaks, Hot Heidegger, Hot Sephiroth. They showed off a lot of hot characters in that. Making the dudes look real hot this time, which I'm all the way here for. I'm 100% in after these trailers they showed. I really wanted them to show gameplay. They showed a ton, and they walked through a ton of gameplay. I think that the modernization changes that we were just talking about, I think, are really great. And I think them taking Final Fantasy VII and fleshing it out, I think that looks super cool. And I'm certainly not the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan, and I am going to get this day one.
Same here. I'm watching it really closely because I am almost all in. I just need that last push. A little bit more. I need to see them do a new piece of content, and probably that will drag me in. If I see them go to like another sector of Midgard and have something that I've never seen before, I think that would be enough to make me say, okay, I'm in.
You want to see like an hour of gameplay, right? Like IGN presents like the first hour of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, and then I'll be like, okay, I can see why I want to be in this. Like right now, I'm kind of almost like, a part of me is just like, maybe wait until they're all out, and then I can just enjoy them all in one sitting.
2035.
But if I know that like there's enough content filling out, like because they say so, but I want.
Are each of them 60-hour games? Then that's easier to swallow. How do you feel, Musim?
I am excited for it. I have it pre-ordered, but I'm also very cynical on this in that. I don't like betting, so let's say I'll bet $1 if someone wants to take me on it. They will never make a sequel to this.
That is
we
also
will never get chapter 2.
That's also my concern, because I think making the first title of this is really easy. I think making the rest of the game, especially if you're going to make an open world RPG in the modern day, seems daunting.
I'd like to believe that a lot of the work that they have to do for the first game, a lot of that stuff can be carried over into a second game much easier. Like
they have the engine done already.
The engine will have to be done. The battle systems and all that stuff that should be done. You still have to make like unique boss fights and whatever. But
you got to draw Yuffie and Vincent.
Right, but like.
Well, these things are only true if they have a PS5 and whatever the new Xbox was. It Project
Scarlet.
That was it. Like, as long as they have dev kits for those and have them working on that, then what your guys are saying is true. And if they haven't already built this game on those, then they have that uphill battle where they're going to have to maintain this.
Enix can do that, though. I feel like Sony and everybody else will be like, you want to put your Final Fantasy VII on my thing?
You just push a wad of money at them.
Come on, we'll get money because you will put your prestigious... I feel like that they don't have to worry about that specifically, them.
And a lot of...
Holy crap, I forgot this hasn't been announced for Xbox yet.
No, and I doubt it will because it was originally announced for PS4 and PC, and Square Enix has been coming out on PS4. See you later. That's like, okay. So I'm assuming they'll do like what they did with Nier Automata, and they'll come out with it on Xbox and whatever else they can. The other, to loop around to the PS5 and Scarlet too, both of those platform makers are looking at forwards compatibility as well. So I think that takes the bite out of some of this development as well. Like, take your copy of this game, pop it in your PS5, or re-download it on your PS5, and it'll look better or load faster or whatever. So that might take the bite out of that. So, okay, we talked about Final Fantasy VII for a while. Go watch the trailers; they're all really good. Another remaster that I certainly wasn't expecting. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is getting a remaster. This time it will be online multiplayer, coming out winter for PS4, Switch, iOS, and Android. So that I was not expecting that. Go play Crystal Chronicles. It was pretty good.
It's
play with a friend.
Yeah, play with friends.
Don't do this by yourself.
No,
I'm a little bit of a hipster on this. I got to be honest. Like, I saw that, I'm like, oh man, that's awesome. They're remaking that, but how do I plug in my Game Boy so I can get my character screen?
Yeah, my initial thought was like, oh, you'll play it on PS4 and Switch, but your second screen will be on your phone. But it doesn't look like that's the case. That would have been cool. It sold way less copies, but that's what I would have wanted.
I know it's not even like, looking back, you didn't really need it.
No, but it was cool.
Well, no, I take that back. Yeah, because you could manage your equipment and not stop the game from moving.
Right. Yep. Yeah. You could.
Did it also have like secret victory conditions, or like what? Or am I mixing that up with something else?
You might be mixing that up with it was Legend of Zelda 4 Swords.
It was definitely a Final Fantasy one where I remember it was like a secret objective, like whoever gets the most points by like make sure that you are carrying the thing at the end, or make sure that you've broken X amount of boxes, or kill X amount of enemies.
It's been like a decade since I played it.
It was something like that.
Yeah. They showed off Octopath Traveler, mostly to remind people that it's out on PC. They showed off Last Remnant Remastered, which is out on Switch right now. It was out that day. If you're going to play Last Remnant Remastered, please play with a walkthrough. Even if it's your first time, please play with the walkthrough. Don't screw yourself out of the ending in that game. They show off Dragon Quest Builders 2, which we talked about a little bit in releases. Just a much bigger game with way more stuff. So that's coming out PS4 and Switch.
There's a demo out if you aren't sure that you want to play it. There's a demo out right now you can enjoy.
Yeah, go check that out. Dragon Quest 11S Definitive Edition. Almost the longest title of E3. They showed off that coming fall. 16-bit mode still looks really great. That 16-bit world map looks really, really good.
And orchestral versions of the songs that should have been in the original.
Cough, cough. And additional scenes and a bunch of added stuff. So Square Enix is still talking about bringing this to the other platforms as some sort of DLC pack, but we'll see how that goes. Speaking of music, Square Enix OSTs are on pretty much every streaming platform. They showed like 12 or 15 of them. So if you use it, it probably has Square Enix's OSTs on it. So that was a pretty cute trailer. I like that one. They showed off Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. This is Kingdom Hearts 3's first piece of paid DLC coming this winter. I beat Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'm still not entirely sure what they were talking about in this trailer. So if you haven't played it, good luck. They showed off Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, but we talked all about that, so go play that. They announced 2 Saga games. They're bringing out... Oh, I would have never guessed this. I'm so excited. They're bringing over Romancing Saga 3, which is like one of 2 white whales for the Super NES.
I didn't expect that.
No, this is one of those games I would have never... this would be one of those games on the pile of like, these are great games, and they will never come to the West. So they're even bringing that over to the Vita, which is kind of crazy. So it's going to come out on a whole bunch of platforms. Go check that out. Romancing Saga 3 is really, really good. And they also announced Saga Scarlet Grace, which is their brand new Saga game. That doesn't really have any information on it. So every Saga game is so different from one another. I genuinely have no idea what that's going to be. They also announced a brand new Final Fantasy Brave Exvius game called War of the Visions, FFBE. They're taking the Brave Exvius universe and they're making a new Final Fantasy Tactics game, basically.
Yeah.
So, sign me the hell up. I will take that. They showed off Onanaki, which is coming out August 22nd, 2019. I don't know what that is. I watched a trailer. I've seen some stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I liked what I saw, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And lastly, but certainly not least, Final Fantasy VIII finally getting the HD remaster. It so sorely deserves. It will sit with the rest of the games that have gotten remasters. Coming to PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and Steam 2019. I thought they had done just a quick HD pass on this like they did with 7 and 9. It's way more than that.
No, they definitely done more. You can see based on like some of the screenshots that there's they've had to remake a lot of models and stuff. So
yeah, like it looks like they remade a significant amount of that game. Also, there's a rumor out now it might have voice acting because there's some leaked store listings that have voice acting available in English, Japanese, French, and Spanish, and it's just like, pardon? That's what now? So we'll either way. I'm gonna buy 8 because 8 is incredible, and I want to play 8 again. You add more stuff to it. That sounds pretty okay. More 8
controversial opinions on PUP.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but
2 thumbs up for Final Fantasy VIII. It's great. That rhymed. So that's all for Square. Obviously, they had a really strong RPG showing. Surprisingly, Nintendo Direct had a really strong RPG showing for E3 2019. They had 4 Dragon Quest main characters are coming to Smash. It looked like it was like 3, 5, 8, and 11, as far as I can tell, or like 1, 3, 8, and 11. 8 and 11 are definitely in there. 8 has a little hamster in his pocket. It's really cute. I like it. So... more characters to come to Smash where people say, like, wait, who is he from? Well, he's good. I don't know where he's from. But, yeah. They show off another trailer for Dragon Quest XI Definitive Edition. No real new details on this, but, man, that Dragon Quest theme just gets me every time. It's so good. The title that wins easily the longest title of E3 2019... Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance Tactics. This is coming out this year. I was ready to kind of poo-poo this game until the Treehouse stream. The developers came out and showed a lot more of the game. And basically, all without saying the name, were like, hey, if you like Final Fantasy Tactics, we're making basically a brand new one of those, and it sure does look like they are. So I'm really excited for the new Dark Crystal game.
Nice.
Yeah. Trials of Mana is coming early 2020. Okay, so let's talk about Trials of Mana and Collection of Mana. Let's start with Collection of Mana.
People are confused by this, so we need to do this.
So this is surprisingly straightforward. Collection of Mana contains 3 games. Final Fantasy Adventure, which was the first Mana game, came out on the Game Boy. They just emulated that version. Secret of Mana, not the terrible remake, the original Super NES version, just emulated that. Trials of Mana, they emulated and finally translated Seiken Densetsu 3, which is that along with the other game we were just talking about. That was easily on the pile of like, well, we're never getting that here in the U.S. So that is in Collection of Mana. What Trials of Mana is they're actually doing a full 3D remake of Seiken Densetsu 3. That's coming out early 2020. So unfortunately, 2 games are called Trials of Mana, but the one coming out next year is the HD one. So if you're like me and you haven't really played any of those 3 games to completion, you can go buy that collection. I think it's like $40. So.
I'm pretty excited for this. Like I've played the intro of Second 3, and like it seemed like a super cool game when I did, because I was playing like a fan translation ROM, and I never got back to finishing it. But I picked up this collection, and I hope to have time to play video games again and play it
someday. Yeah. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition is coming in 2019 in Switch. As long as this runs well, go pick it up. That's an incredible amount of that. The base game alone is a lot of content. And the 2 pieces of DLC are both really good.
So is there kind of a minor, like not important question, but one I'm still curious about. Is there nudity in Witcher 3?
Yes.
And do we think it's going to make it to the Switch version?
Probably. I would assume.
Someone asked Nintendo in an interview something along the lines of like, is Nintendo going to allow games that are mature be mature? And Nintendo has said very, very like affirmatively, like it is up to whatever the third-party developer wants to do.
Like if it's mature, it's a mature game.
We will not get in the way of anything they want to do. So, they flat out said like if you because I think this all became from some, what was it? A screenshot of like I know what it was. It was about the Dante game. Devil May Cry. May Cry. There's a scene where there's a woman who's like unclothed. Right. And there's reasons for it. It makes sense, but they don't like give her like the front side. You only get to see like the small of her back and a little bit of her tush as the guy picks her up. And like I think in like maybe like the PS4 version or something like that, there's like they've clouded it over in American versions.
Right.
It's completely like lens flare. You don't see anything. Right. It's too
Anime
much smoke.
Censorship.
You couldn't possibly see it. And I guess like this was a big hullabaloo or whatever, but they asked if like the Switch version was going to do something about that, and they were like, it's whatever they want to do. The game's marked
just putting it out, whatever.
Like we will not stand in the way of whatever you want to do. Like
That's cool.
Basically, I would say unless they want to do that to the game, they don't have to.
Right.
So Nintendo's not gonna stop it.
2 thumbs up, Nintendo. Good job.
Okay.
Yeah. And the last game they showed off is Fire Emblem 3 Houses. That was talked about coming out on July 26, 2019. I didn't realize that after the first chapter, where you're sort of the school teacher and you're recruiting students to your school, apparently after the first chapter there's a significant time skip, and then the people you don't recruit are the people you're fighting against.
Yeah.
Those are the enemies.
Sounds so cool.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, now I'm in, man. Like, you're saying all the right stuff.
Well, that's what someone spoiled that for me because I needed a question answered. Because I was like, because I knew that there were 3 houses and that you had to choose one. And I was like, but how am I going to choose? Like, I don't want to pick from this. How will I know? And they're like, there's going to be a chapter of like getting to know them all before you do that.
Yeah,
and
you
then
can make an informed decision.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So I don't just randomly pick one side to start the story with
Right.
and then feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lastly, we just have two little quick snippets here. Ni no Kuni, the very first game, is going to come back with a Switch port. A Switch, PC, and PS4 remaster. So they're gonna sort of clean that game up and put it out. I am one of the few people that liked the first Ni no Kuni, so
I loved it.
yeah, I not many people did, and I don't remember enough of it to say like, no, it wasn't a grindy fest. It might have been, but I still really enjoyed it.
I think more people were upset with a little how clunky it was. It was a little clunky at times, and I mean that was something that you just learned to love about it. That it was
just a little
clunky.
weird. It was a PS3 game. It's just a little weird, you know.
It was just a little clunky, but it worked.
Yeah. And Torchlight 2 gets a console release date of September 3rd, 2019 for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. I'm very excited to play Torchlight 2 again and maybe actually finish it this time.
I love the pet system in that game.
Yeah, I like Torchlight 2 a lot. I played the first one on 360 a ton, but I'm looking forward to diving back in that one. So that's all of our E3 coverage, and boy, this was actually a really long episode this time. That's the end of our episode. If you'd like to visit us, you can do so at pickingupthepixels.com. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right-hand side of the page. Patreon.com/E1M1. The ones are numbers. Get all the cool behind-the-scenes and early access episodes. The $5 tier is the best one. That's only $5 a month. That's super cheap. Where can we find you on the internet, Musum?
You can find me on my audio page, jvaudio.net, and that will get you everywhere else.
And Mina, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitch or on YouTube under Nina KO Rocket. And Boston?
You can find me at e1m1.com for all my shows. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.